It's been a long while, like I always say. That's pretty much my intro now. It's always been a while since we come back on. But it's January 9th. Without further ado, it is a new year, and we are still here, thankfully. So this is episode 7 of AFG podcast, and I'm glad to be here alongside with my co-host Steven. Steven, how you doing, man?
Doing good. Happy New Year, and hope your holidays were good.
Same here, same here. Speaking of holidays, this new year already started off with a banger, full of news. When it comes down to even the politics side and and gaming as well. When it comes to this NFT bullshit that's going on in the gaming industry, so there's a lot to get into. But before we get into the news today, I have a couple tidbits that I wanted to point out. First of all, congratulations, Joseph Ferris, from the director of It Takes Two. He won Game of the Year at the VGA, and I am 100% on board with that, as long as Deathloop didn't win. So, other than that, yeah. So VGA is a whole nother thing. I honestly don't want to really talk about VGA on this podcast because there's a lot that's been going on with that, and it was too long for its own good. Not the most exciting year for the VGAs last year, but whatever. So another thing we're gonna dive into is the Game Pass this month. Now, I'm pretty sure you heard about the Game Pass with Mass Effect Trilogy Remastered going on at I think it was on the 6th. Yeah, it went on live on the 6th, and that's a big freebie right there if you guys already are subscribed. It's a great trilogy, one of my favorite franchises of all time, and I played it way too much and still playing it way too much when it comes to playing it over on Xbox now. Even I already started on the PS5 and I beat Mass Effect 1, and I'm doing it over again because I have no discipline in anything when it comes to that stuff. But yeah, Mass Effect 1 is one of my favorite games of all time as well, so I don't mind beating that, over and over on different systems if not. But yeah, so this month on Game Pass we have a couple of games to sprinkled throughout the month of January. I don't even know how to pronounce that first name. I think you see it in your Discord.
Gorogoa.
Gorogoa. Okay. I don't know what that exactly is. I haven't heard of it before till now. But that's coming on the cloud, console, and PC. We have another name that I have totally... What is that? Olegia?
Yeah, looks it.
Olegia. It's coming on cloud, console, and PC. We have the Pedestrian. Now, the Pedestrian I looked into not too long ago, and it looks it looks like a nice game to kill time on. As far as the indie game goes, and it's very unique when it comes to you playing as like a stick figure on a street sign, and you're making your way through. I guess it gives me like Zelda. What was the one on the Mirrors something that came out on the DS? I think the last one, where he can like go into the wall and walk around.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The name isn't
Yeah,
coming
well,
from front of my
you're
head.
pretty much playing a stick figure like a drawing on a wall and going through the street signs in whatever city it is. I'm assuming it's New York, but it's more cities out there than New York, but who knows? But it looks interesting. Moving on, we got Amber coming out in cloud, console, and PC. Never heard of that. Mass Effect Legendary Edition coming out on console and PC, which is something we already mentioned, but the PC part is good too as well. And we have Outer Wilds. Now, I have Outer Wilds. I played a little bit of it. It's a very, very prestigiously, critically acclaimed game. I haven't played enough of it to really know why it's so good, but I played the beginning and it piqued my interest enough. I just got sidetracked it.
I played a little bit too. I think I didn't really play more than like an hour, but I think my head wasn't like kind of in. I was in between some other games and I wanted to just try it out, but I didn't give it a proper chance yet either. I guess that's what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're early on that. But the fact that it's on Game Pass and it's, I mean, kept hearing nothing good but good things from anytime this game is brought up in the conversation. I assume that, you know, it's a better deal than now to get that if you have Game Pass. That's coming out. Well, that came out on the January 6th. I'm sorry, I'm running through these dates. So the games I've named so far already came out from the 4th and up. But I'll let you know if the for next up games that are coming out later on this month. So that came out on the 6th as well on cloud, console, and PC. You got Spelunky, a lot of fans' favorites. That's pretty much coming out on the 13th on console and PC. We have Anacrusis. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce that. Don't know what that is. They're coming out on console and PC on January 13th. Nobody Saved the World. That sounds familiar. I gotta look that up again. Coming out on console, PC on January 18th. Puparazzi? I don't know what that is. Paparazzi?
Yeah.
Paparazzi. Okay.
Yeah.
Coming out on console and PC. I gotta look that up. On January 20th. And Windjammers. It's a very classic game. They keep coming out with, porting it. Coming out on console, PC in January 20th. Rainbow Six Extinction. We're going to get into this further with the Ubisoft news, but that's also coming out on January 20th on console and PC day one. But on PS5, of course, people have to pay for that. And that was it for the Game Pass this month, which is a lot of games for a little bit of a, I guess, there's something for everyone in this list of games. So, good job, Xbox.
Yeah, really building out their selection.
Yeah, they really are. But yeah, I was gonna get in. You know, it's not even fair because I was gonna actually do a contrast of the PlayStation Plus and Now this month. But you know what? Whatever. It's not that much, so I'll just do it anyways. So what's coming out on PlayStation Plus games this month is Dirt 5. I'm about to say Dart 5. Dirt 5 for the PS4, PS5. Deep Rock Galactic on PS4, PS5. Persona 5 Strikers on PS4. That is the only one I downloaded this month so far. And all of these 3 games came out on February 4th of this month. I just wanted to see how it looked on the gameplay. I never beat Persona 5 yet, Royale. So I understand that this story is canon and it takes place after. It's a sequel to Persona 5. So I didn't want to spoil too much for myself. But I couldn't help myself but to see, how it looks on the PS5 and stuff. But so far out of those 3 games, I mean, I have Dirt 5 already when it came out, but Deep Rock Galactic, I don't know too much of. But yeah, it's just those 3 games, the PlayStation Plus games. On the PlayStation Now side, we have Final Fantasy 12, The Zodiac Age, Fury Unleashed. We have Kerbal Space Program, Mortal Kombat 11, Unturned, Super Time Force Ultra. That's on the PS Now. I only really prescribed to PS Now twice since this thing has been out, and neither one of the 2 of those times haven't been acceptable to me at all. So I'm not a big PS Now fan, but
well, that's PlayStation's answer to Game Pass.
No, not yet. So I was gonna talk about that too. See, there's still a rumor out that Sony is preparing for a Game Pass competitor. How and why, I don't know either, but in my opinion, they don't need one. Even though it seems like Xbox is blowing Sony out the water right now, and at the end of the year, and Xbox ended strong, but Sony always had one thing on their side, at least for now, until Xbox come out with more of their exclusive, Bethesda games and stuff later on in next couple of years. But Sony always had the stronger exclusives on their side, to keep their system, of course, convenient in the competitive space. So, well, yeah, it's keeping more value in the competitive space. But I don't think it would hurt them at all bringing out. I think it would make it even better, honestly, for the competition if they
Yeah,
have their own Game Pass competitive.
I believe eventually that they're gonna have to, because I mean I agree with you with the exclusives,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the only reason why I have a PS5. You know,
Yeah.
if they didn't have that, I just have Xbox or But I mean, it depends on what Microsoft can do. I mean, they start bringing their end game with these exclusives on their end. Sony's gonna have to get a live, a monthly service like Game Pass
Yeah. Eventually.
esque. Yeah.
Eventually.
So
Well, this thing is why I say that is because we don't know exactly how good, how well received these games that Microsoft are working on that's coming out with their studios exclusively when it does come out. We don't know how well received those games are going to be. We don't know if it's going to stack up against the exclusives for Sony. It looks like it. I mean, I'm very excited for Avowed, Skyrim, whenever that may come out in the next couple of years. I don't think we're seeing that in a very long time. I said Skyrim, the Elder Scrolls 7. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I is this 6 or 7? I forgot.
6 I think, because
6.
Skyrim's
Yeah,
5.
Skyrim is 5. Sorry. Yeah, Morrowind was 4. Yeah, Oblivion was okay. Got it.
Oh,
Well, no, Skyrim, Oblivion was 5. Morrowind was 3 or
I thought
4.
Morrowind was 3.
3. Okay, I'm
I
racing
thought it was.
ahead. I'm racing ahead then. All right, so yeah, so 6. So yeah, I'm excited, kind of excited, but so long, in the future, I think I'm not that excited for. Um, I told you Starfield in the last podcast. I'm excited to see that jump on Game Pass day one, exclusively for Xbox as well. This is Bethesda games, of course. I think Avowed is Bethesda. I mean, it's coming from Bethesda developers, I believe, or former developers, whatever. I think it was the same, whatever. It's a lot of RPGs coming out exclusively for Xbox throughout its near future. I don't know too many other games besides Forza Motorsport, which I'm not really excited for anymore because Horizon took over that base, that racing genre to me in a big way.
I feel like Horizons kind of take the more casual racer out of like the motorsport game. Motorsport is more like a more serious, more sim like,
Yeah,
racing game
yeah,
as opposed
and I'm
to
into that.
Horizon.
Yeah, and I'm into that. I mean, I wasn't at one point. No, I'm still into that, but just not the motorsport genre because motorsport, the last one, 6. Yeah, Motorsport 6
Is there 7? I thought
or
there was 7.
7. Whichever the last one was for the Xbox One when it on the release. Yeah, 7. I did not. I did not enjoy that at all, and it was a big disappointment. But Horizon filled that that hole that 7 left. In a way, the game I'm most excited for when it comes to sim racing is Gran Turismo 7. So that I'm excited for this year, hopefully. I was always a big fan of the Gran Turismos throughout the years when they came out with stuff, except for sports. Not too much on sports, but the next major entry, the number entry. I'm excited for that. The Going back to the Xbox thing though, it's a lot of RPGs exclusive that I know off the top of my head at least. It could be more genres that's coming out exclusively for Xbox, but I can't remember right now. Um, but yeah, we have to see exactly how that turns out. Pretty much in the near future for Xbox, if they can stack up against Sony exclusives or not.
Yeah, they'll definitely have to increase their catalog.
Yeah,
So I don't think Halo, Gears, Forza, and then the Bethesda stuff. Like that's 4 things. I can't really think of anything else. I
yep.
know Sony's got like 10, 15 IPs, that are just like exclusive to them. So
But yeah, 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 we'll see, man. It's Xbox is showing up and showing out, man. And Sony's been quiet recently. My only game I've been playing on Sony recently is Yakuza, Lost Judgment, um, and a couple comparisons between Xbox and PlayStation cross games. That's about it, pretty much though. I've been on my Xbox nonstop. Thanks to you for helping me get the Series X, by the way. Really, really appreciated that. Made the end of my year.
No
Because
problem.
I was with the Series S for a while, and there's nothing wrong with the Series S. Still a really good system in its own right, but it wasn't matching up with the OLED TV that I have. So, yeah, really enjoying the Series X so far, and I've been on a Forza and Halo Infinite for a bit now. But before we get into the news, speaking of those games, exactly what games have you been playing so far recently?
Recently, well, currently, I've been playing Knights of the Old Republic on the Switch. So they came out with
Good
the
pick.
Switch port,
Yep.
and I had never played the first one. Way back in the day, um, I got my hands on like Code R2, and I played that on the Xbox original. It was an amazing, phenomenal game. Love it,
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, never got around to the first one. Now that I'm playing the first one, though, um, I definitely still think the second one is better. uh, and I think that's because the characters in your party, I like them more in the second game. I don't really care for too many of the characters in your party on the first game. I think that's kind of what's making the difference.
Hmm. Yeah, the second one, from what I remember, was a lot more dark than the first one, as far as the tone of the story. Correct?
Uh, yeah,
Yeah, it was more on the Sith side than anything when it comes to the companions you had in your party too. Um,
but
yeah.
they felt like the dialogue I've noticed is a bit more fleshed out. Conversations that you have with your party. Um, as far as like, uh, I would say it's more like the conversations flows a little bit better. It's more realistic.
Mm.
I mean, you get some like quirky like quips sometimes when you talk to your party members, and it just feels a little like forced almost. But I feel like that's sort of just how the characters were written, you know?
Yeah.
Like Karth, like I don't really care for him. He like annoyed the hell out of me for like
I don't know
the
why.
first like couple hours of the
When I
game.
when I first, because I have it on Switch as well. When I turned it on and I heard his voice, I'm like, why does that sound like Charlie Sheen? And I had to look it up on IMDb again. It's like, oh, it's totally not Charlie Sheen, but it just sounds like Charlie Sheen to me. And I was like, I don't know.
He was
That's a
just
little
so
thing I have.
whiny,
He is.
just so whiny, almost like for like half the game. Once you like resolve his issues, he's like just whiny. It annoyed me. And then, um, what the astromech droid, uh, the one in KOTOR 2,
Yeah.
they actually gave him like personality, and you can like talk to him and all that. But the one in the first game is just like you can't even like have a conversation. It's just he doesn't like to talk or something. And the whole time, it's like all right, like he's just like dead weight. I'm not even gonna use him in my party. What's the point? Unless you have to use him,
Yeah.
and then. But no, I'm having fun with it though. I mean, obviously it's a very dated game,
Yeah,
but
but I think they did a good job with the slight upgrade. They're already making a full remake of that game anyway, so
yeah,
whenever that's gonna come out, we'll see. But
it's hard. Have I don't want to expect too much,
yeah, especially
because
these
I
days.
mean they can remake it and it could be like absolutely phenomenal, but they can remake it and it could just be like trash,
Yeah,
you know. So
I forgot exactly who's remaking it too. I gotta look at the studio again. But it's not Blue Point, which would have been a better choice for me. Is it Blue Point? No, Blue Point's next game. They already announced what they're making, isn't it? Oh, they did they announce it?
yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head either.
Let me see real quick. But besides that, the game you recently finished, I believe.
Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
game of the year, hands down, over Tales of Arise, which was my previous game of the year before I played Guardians. But what is your game of the year 2021? I never asked you that before, so. Or do you have one ready already? I know it was like a question that came out of nowhere, but I wanted to see if you had one off the top of your head.
I don't think I have something that's like super clear winner for me, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say like Tails and Guardians like are kind of almost tied for me. Maybe Guardians takes it a little bit more just because of the phenomenal story in
Okay.
Guardians. But I don't know. There's no like clear
Winner.
winner, right?
Yeah.
But like I suspect like next year is just gonna be Ragnarok. You know, God of
All the
War.
way, just like that.
Like it doesn't even
It's a
matter. Yeah,
lot of
like you
games
know.
coming out next year, man. That's crazy. You just shut all
I
those
don't
good
know.
games out. Well, who
I don't
knows
know.
if they're
I
gonna be
mean,
that good? I mean, for Horizon, man, it's. I'm not saying it's an automatic, winner out of all those games, including God of War, but it's definitely up there with me as far as my most anticipated game. Um, I don't know. Unless God of War can surprise me, I feel like we're just gonna get more God of War, and there's nothing wrong with that because the God of War, the first one was fucking great. I don't know how they reimagined that, but I feel like we're just gonna get more of that within, of course, the story going on further. I don't know if they're gonna pull out some more surprises besides with the story, other than yeah, like as far as gameplay, I mean, like I feel like I know what I'm expecting now with the gameplay and really really good graphics and a really really good story. That's all I'm expecting, and that's not taken away from if it's gonna be game of the year for me or not. I'm just saying, like, I feel like there's no room for surprises for me unless they surprise me again. And
well,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I mean, the surprises are gonna be in the narrative and the plot.
Yeah, the story.
I believe at this point. Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'm okay if they don't obviously change the gameplay. The gameplay was phenomenal. It doesn't need
Mm-hmm.
to be tweaked. Doesn't need any kind of changes. Um, what it's really going to come down to is story and plot, and I think they should rectify the boss battles. As far as they didn't have enough in the first one,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they need to have like 4 or 5 like epic like boss battle sequences, as opposed to like 2 or 3
Yeah.
from the first one. So
Well,
I think
yeah.
that would those 2 elements I think would keep it, you know, would be able to do better than even the first game.
Well,
The
yeah.
20
That
20.
you pretty much hit it. You hit it on the head with that one. It's something I didn't even think about as far as because I was talking about gameplay, and I feel like the boss fights are part of that gameplay because it does enhance it in a way where you have to tackle things at a different point of view than the rest of the normal enemies. So, and I guess that falls into lore as well since it's a part of the boss fight. So yeah, I think that right there is what I'm not expecting more of with this
Mhm.
one. That can surprise me because I can't imagine anything else surprising me in this one. Besides more twists and stuff in the lore, but boss fights is probably what it's gonna take for me to feel like, all right, this is way better, or a bit better than the first one for me to say like, yeah, this is gonna be hard to beat. And another thing is, I'm coming from a place where the first one wasn't even my game of the year, so I gotta put that out there as well. It wasn't my game of the year. It was a really good story, really good run, but I didn't love it as much as everybody else did. With that, thought it was the game of the century, or best game of all time. I still look at Witcher 3 that way. I'm just that guy. I'm just an RPG guy when it comes to that. But hey, look, my game of the year last year was freaking Guardians of the Galaxy, and that's not an RPG. It's an action adventure game to me with RPG elements in it. But yeah, I we'll see. like I said, Horizon and a couple other games that I can't see and remember off the top of my head because it's a lot coming out next year that we're gonna get through later. That it's I'm really looking forward to. More so on the RPG side of things, but Horizon is definitely a big one because I love the Decima engine a lot.
Hmm.
Obviously because I'm a graphics whore, so not saying God of War is not gonna it's gonna disappoint that market at all. I love God of War graphics as well, but yeah, I'm just going. Now I'm rambling.
Well,
Um, yeah, go
I
ahead.
think Corey Balrog, he's not um really involved in it, right?
Corey
This time around.
Barlog, he is.
Oh, he is.
He is.
I heard something about him not being like lead on.
That was I don't know if he's lead, but he's still involved in it.
Okay.
I don't know if he's lead though. I did hear about that in the beginning, but I don't know if that's true. I think he's still I think is very much a part of it as he was in the first one, if not just a slightly different role, but creative narrative director or whatever. I think he's still a part of all that. I feel like it's his baby anyway, so
Yeah.
I feel like he would want to continue that. But I know Lana Pierce, former IGN member, and everything else now she does, which is great for her. I mean, I follow her. She moves on with a lot of things, and now she's at Santa Monica Studio. So I think she's involved with the writing process as well. But take that with a grain of salt. I'm not for sure. I just know that she is a writer to a certain extent. So yeah, I think she's gonna be a part of that as well. And a couple of the writers. I'm just naming the ones I know. But yeah. What was that just now?
I got a little off track,
Oh yeah, the
but
guy,
as
the
far as
game of the
as
year.
far as
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a clear like favorite to put there.
Mhm.
There's like I said, like Tails and Guardians each have their strengths for me, and it's sort of like I don't think I could put like one on top of the other.
Hmm.
But I'm not much of a Marvel guy.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed the movies, but I mean, this game blows the Guardians of the Galaxy movies out of the water as far as like plot. It was just amazing. Like I can't like I remember watching like the movies and just thinking like, yeah, all right, that's cool. But like playing this game from like chapter two just like really hooked me for I don't know why, for whatever reason. And it's just like it was just phenomenal. Um I honestly didn't like the gameplay too much.
Yeah.
Um
The gameplay was
it,
the least favorite of mine in the game, but it was good
like
enough for me.
I would say towards like chapter like 12, 13, 14, like it was starting to feel like a slog for me. Where I was just like, all right, I just want to like get past this stuff so I can just get to the next cutscene.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of like how I started feeling by the end of the
I got
game,
you.
you
That's how I
know.
felt like. That's how I felt with Scarlet Nexus for like a good quarter of the game. But yeah, and the gameplay in Scarlet Nexus is even better to me in a way because there's more to do, of course. But at the end of the day, it's two different games. But
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say Scarlet Nexus, like it's all on like you, right? To like
yeah, and
kill like the
you
enemies.
still it's actually similar because you're still calling in favors for like borrowing their powers at least,
Yeah, but as
like
Star
assistance.
Lord, you got to dump like three clips into like some basic enemy to kill it. It's like,
That's true.
and it's like they force you to kind of use your team,
Yeah,
you know, like far more often.
yeah. I
Which I
mean,
mean, I get it
yeah, I
because
like
I mean, you
it
know,
hits and misses. It has hits and misses, and it depends on the person who's playing it whether they can tolerate it or not, or whether they feel like it's just they just play it differently. When it comes to other people that probably didn't play as good, or just didn't utilize all the skills like that. Because in all fairness, is you don't have to utilize all the skills in that game to beat it, but it does get harder if you don't. But it's not necessary. You can still
yeah,
utilize your skills and that's it. But other than that, yeah, it's based on how you your upgrading tree and what you do first and how you play. But yeah, Guardians is definitely the gameplay is definitely not the strongest point of the game, of course, and it's not nowhere near the story. Stacking up to the story as far as how good it is either. But it was good enough for me to actually still have fun without feeling fatigue within the whole game in general. The way how I played, I can't really explain it. I just utilized almost everything to my arsenal, and I fucking had fun doing it. And then the game didn't outstay its welcome with the gameplay to me, because I was moving through the enemies pretty fast. Um, for the most part, for the most part. I did die a couple times, but not much. No, yeah, no, I didn't die like that. But yeah, um, the reason why I chose that over Tales, even though Tales is excellent from start to finish in every genre, but in every way when it comes to story, gameplay, pacing, everything, graphics. Um, Mainly because Guardian surprised me. The surprises is what got me more excited while playing the game and more enjoyment while playing the game compared to Tales. Tales surprised me one time. And what I mean by that, I mean is it surprised me because I'm liking it so much. I'm enjoying the story so much. I wasn't ever into Tales before like that. To be enjoying it like this much as my first Tales game I actually beat. I tried other Tales games. I played a lot of Tales of Exilia on the PS3 and stuff like that. Got like damn near the middle of it, but it was like on and off for me. Tales of Arise surprised me because of how fast and much, like how fast I was going through it and how much I was playing it. Not the story itself. The story itself was started off really good, but basic, and then it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and I like that too. But it wasn't a surprise, if that makes any sense. Gameplay elements wise, Guardian surprised me more. When it comes to when I say gameplay, I mean sorry, let me take that back. Just the game itself, the story surprised me a hell of a lot more than any game this year. The Because I wasn't anticipating anything about it. Like I wasn't going into it thinking that hell before the game even came out, the way they marketed the game, I didn't know what to think of it. So I went in with low expectations, and I came out with fucking okay. I don't know what's beating this. I didn't play Halo yet, but this is gonna be fucking hard to beat after I beat it. You know, like I was on that type of time, and I was on that type of time with Tales of Arise as well. But I wasn't as strong about it because it is a JRPG, and when I say JRPG in my book, JRPGs is not as strong to me as Western RPGs when it comes to my liking because I like Witcher 3 so much. But I didn't think a JRPG would get me this hooked like Tales of Arise did. So I still left room open for Halo and stuff, but to my surprise, fucking Guardians came out of nowhere and surprised the shit out of me. So that's why Guardians got my Game of the Year approval for me. I think everybody should try this game out. I don't care who you are. I don't care what type of games you're into. What if you didn't like the MCU Guardians movie? I think it's something. I think it's an entry point for anybody to play in the Guardians universe. And I think even if you didn't like the James Gunn universe, as similar as they are with this, they really do go past that in a big way. In ways that I never like. I don't know the comics as much. I was pretty much raised on the MCU version, so they seem like they kept it very close to home on the comic side than the MCU version. Of course, they just took the likeness of certain characters from the MCU and expanded upon that in this game. To me, and that was a huge thing about that too, because I thought I was gonna be annoyed by Rocket's voice in the beginning and a couple other people that kept going on with the chat. There's so much dialogue in this game. It's fucking crazy. But yeah,
Yeah.
this it for some people, I guess from what I heard in certain reviews, people got annoyed by it. But as for the people, I think that didn't even like they got so annoyed they just stopped playing it. I don't know, but yeah,
I
it's
wasn't
a
so
big
much
game.
I wasn't so much annoyed by the constant dialogue. I was more annoyed that it would get cut off. Like I'm moving somewhere and everyone's talking, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I moved too fast, and now I'm into this
Oh,
next like
okay.
little scene. You know,
Yeah.
I was like, well, I wasn't done hearing what they were trying to say. You know,
Mhm.
sometimes like it seemed a little bit unnecessary. like certain points,
Yeah.
but I was like kind of genuinely like, all right, like I'm trying to listen in on the conversation. I also liked how they gave you like choices, where Gamora and Drax will
Oh, as
say
far as
something,
the
and then
dialogue
like
choices, yeah.
yeah, and then like you get the pop up of support or
The hell's
deny
wrong with my
or
camera?
agree or this or
Yeah.
that,
There we go.
and I enjoyed that too. But
Yeah, it was light when it comes to the choices, but it was definitely meaningful when they did come up with it. Like it wasn't like they just ignored it entirely. We both know that this game wasn't like a Mass Effect, like it was gonna change the whole game entirely with different endings and
mhm.
stuff. But throughout that journey, it did mean you could tell that choice that you did mean like you branched off of. You couldn't avoid a whole fight by saying this, or you wanted to fight and you said this. Like you could tell it was little, it was good enough. It was justifiable for them to have those choices in there, and it actually means something in a way.
Yeah,
So that,
yeah,
yeah,
and what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, just to make a comparison, I recently watched Arcane, and
great
I
show.
know it's all based off of League of Legends and all that. I
Hmm.
never played League, never got into it, but it was great, and I feel like after I watched the show, I want to know more about the characters, and then I hear, oh, there were lore changes, this and that, and like knowing me, how I am at least,
Hmm.
like had I been introduced like to the original lore, I probably would have been a little like, why are they changing this? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So I think that's also something that elevated my experience with Guardians because, like I said, I'm not like huge into Marvel or anything like that. So there's like Nikki, like I didn't know she was actually a character until like after I beat the game,
yeah. Same here. I looked it up
and
myself.
yeah, I'm sure there was a couple other people in Guardians too that if you really don't know, it's sort of like you wouldn't even think that they were part of, the universe. You may have thought maybe, oh, they were introduced to us with this game or something. But I feel like that's something that not knowing the backstory
Yeah,
like enhances the actual story of the game itself. If you don't know like everything in the universe.
yep.
So I think
I
that's
think
something that also enhanced the game for me since I didn't know too much.
Yeah, I concur. I concur. I went in thinking that it was going to be more of an MCU type off of the trailers, and the gameplay wasn't exciting to me at all in the trailers, but everything it exceeded all my expectations going into it entirely, and it kept going all the way to the very, very end. And then, without spoiling it, it just kept going, and I was like, okay, you guys are. I'm already stuffed here. I got my cake, and I fucking got to eat it too. It's like you guys just putting whipped cream in my mouth now and some disgusting shit. Like I don't want no more sweets. Calm down. I'm good.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
I beat it. Like don't ruin the ending for me, please. And it didn't. And I fucking enjoyed even that. And I was like, okay. Like I'm really stuffed now. Like this is my game, my dish of the year. So I don't want. That was good.
Maybe we can use it as bait.
I knew those thumpers wouldn't work.
What? My thumpers are state of the art. Musclehead's the one who rushed at the first thing that came through the door.
My head is not made of muscle.
But then Halo came about, and I really enjoyed that too. So it's not my game of the year, not by far. Tales of Arise I still have over Halo Infinite, but it is not nowhere near a bad game. It's actually a good fresh start for 343 to me. So
I feel like it's almost like an opposite experience for me compared to Guardians
yeah,
because they really hit the nail on the head with gameplay on Halo. They revolutionized it correctly, modernized it correctly. It was fantastic to play, but the story was kind of like, what's going on here?
mm-hmm.
And they also left a lot of in between like Halo 5
Yeah.
and Infinite. They left a lot of like in between events like out. So, I mean, if you don't follow the books, it's like it's sort of like what is going on. You know, you have no idea
Let's
what's happening.
let's hope that they I think they're working on the expansion for the story. Let's hope that these expansions yeah, I think it's confirmed that they're working on the expansion. Oh yeah, by the way, that KOTOR remake is not done by Bluepoint. It's going to be done by Aspire.
Yeah, I think it's Aspire Media.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
looked it up.
Yep. But yeah, they are. I think it's confirmed. If not, it has to be in the making for an expansion for that story because they did leave that ending open, and they're still allowing you to, you know, it's a fucking semi-open world. They still allow you to take down the 5 bases, and you know it's open. They let you play after the game is done. So at the end of the day, I can't see them not expanding that story, especially with a name like Halo Infinite. Instead of giving it a number, I think they're gonna just let this be, you know,
For a while.
our Halo
Yeah.
for a while, exactly, without coming out with another one, at any
I
time
would like
soon.
to see. I would like to see story expansion.
Yeah,
You know, I think they set it up correctly for that.
exactly. The
So,
foundation is
it-
made already.
yeah. So it would be cool to see more of, um, you know, extra chapters they add on, or extra missions, or however they want to do it. I think, you know, they can even go so far as all right, you know, this expansion is taking place on like this side of the Zeta ring. You know what I mean? Like, can you actually move up the ring? We're not in the damaged area anymore.
Yeah.
We're like over here, you know,
Yep.
and things change. Like the landscapes can change. You know, they have a lot to work with. I think.
Yeah. But just
Not
don't make
stop
it a live
progressing.
service.
Yeah.
Stay away from that. I think Witcher 3 handled it best with the expansions,
Mm.
even though they were actually free as well. They are completely different maps, and they handled it well when it comes to how much content they gave you within the expansions. I think Halo's actually set up that foundation for them to do the same thing.
Not on that level though. I don't think they're gonna like match like the Witcher 3 expansion.
Well, I'm not saying match. I mean like just the way how it was built, like just the way how their world is built, and the way how the gameplay is built. Since it's more open, I think they can still come out with content based on a whole nother area of the map, and bring in a lot of story content since they left a lot of questions open and they left a lot more lore open when it comes to how much they can add. Hopefully without destroying the story, but it's they left it open, and I think that gives it, you know, hence the name Infinite. Like they really wanted a huge universe on the lore side based on the unknown, you know, unknown foreseen. I'm not into the books as much as you are, but when it comes to just going outside of that and stuff that the books didn't even explain, you know, like when it comes to not the didact, the Mandicate bias, when I was doing my research, you know, stuff like that. Like they left him alone for a while from what I heard in the books, and they never got back to him. So the fact that they brought him back out in this, I am going to spoilers, I guess, but that's all I'm gonna say. When it comes to Halo, I think that, you know, it's a big thing that it can expand upon, stuff that the books didn't explain yet, from what I know so far.
Yeah, and I mean, the books that I read were before like it's like Fall Reach, The Flood, First Strike. You know, those are all like the older books from like before like Halo 4, and then the 4 in the saga, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, can't you know? And like I was saying about not knowing previous lore can enhance things. Like I know previous lore for Halo, and 343 wants to change a bunch of stuff, and then I get frustrated because I'm like, that's not how it happened.
Yeah. Well, if they don't try
You
to
know?
change the lore and they just expand upon unexplained lore, I think that goes safe for both ways. For people that's into the books and people that's not into the books.
Mm.
If they don't try to change what's already there and just expand upon it, where it's meaningful, I guess.
Yeah, and you know, And I feel like that's kind of where they're also making a mistake because, I mean, they left so much time like in between like Halo 5 and Infinite
Mm-hmm.
that they had to have the books fill out story so that Halo Infinite could make sense. But it always used to be the games just stood on their own,
Yeah,
and
and
then
they
the books
continued.
filled out all the details. You know, so like chronologically, like the Fall Reach happened before like Halo CE, and then Halo happens. So the game is in line canonically with the books. But I feel like what they're doing now is like they're making books conform to the game, and then they're making change. I don't know. It's just
Mm.
I feel like the system where the game can stand alone, but also be enhanced by books was better than just like trying to merge the two.
Yeah,
But
I understand. But we're gonna move on to the news, which we haven't gotten to yet, and it's gonna be I have to make it quick as possible, given the time that we have left. So I'm trying to make this short as possible. This is about the Days Gone debacle with Sony. The former, not former, is he still? Is it former? Jeff Ross, the director at Sony Bend Studio. Um, Jeff and John Garvin, directors from Sony Bend Studio. Garvin, sorry. They recently got an interview with David Jaffe on YouTube, and they were talking about how they felt unfair that Sony didn't want to continue a sequel for Days Gone when supposedly it sold as much, if not more, than Ghost of Tsushima. And they're praising Ghost of Tsushima on the sales. Numbers as far as where Jeff Ross got from as far as Jeff Ross where he got his numbers from what I heard, it's probably not that accurate, but I think Days Gone did sell well enough to make it a sequel, honestly, in my opinion. But yeah, so this article is reported by IGN's Rebecca Valentine, and it's alright, so I'll just start off. On a stream yesterday with Twisted Metal director David Jaffe, former Ben Studio director, so he's a former Ben Studio director and writer John Garvin and director Jeff Ross talked about Ben's struggle to get a green light for Days Gone sequel as the studio's next project. While former Sony head Sean Layton had apparently championed the game, Ross said that as soon as Sean was gone, Days Gone was dead. Ross went on to say that in the process of figuring out what Ben Studio would work on instead, Sony asked them if there were any other Sony IPs that they would be willing to use for a pitch, including Ben's old project, Siphon Filter. But Ben turned him down. Ross said, I have zero ideas on how to reboot Siphon Filter. Ross and Garvin's interview with Chaffee follows a tweet from Ross earlier this week about how Days Gone likely sold about as well as Ghost of Tsushima, but was treated by Sony management as a disappointment. So, again, I already said, numbers not accurate, but I still think they sold well enough to get a green light a sequel. I don't know why. The weird part about this is that Sony's actually thinking about Siphon Filter again. It was one of the biggest franchises back on the PlayStation. I was never. I think I was on 64 at the time, so I didn't really play it as much. I played one of them. But I think Splinter Cell took that over for me when it comes to the espionage stuff. After it came out years later. Since they turned it down, I'm assuming that Siphon Filter might be still up for works, for depending on what studio Sony is trying to. It depends on what studio Sony's trying to choose to have them greenlight that. But again, going back to the main point of the story, Sony Bend the way how they were treated with this Days Gone, not getting a sequel, it does seem kind of biased. I don't know too much about what's going on in the studio like that. I don't know too much about how Sony manages their stuff. A guy from the outside looking in, and from what I'm hearing, it just seems like they were very biased when it comes to that. And I did remember when Days Gone came out, people, besides the bugs that people complain about, Sony did seem, they did come out an article saying how disappointed they were in the sales. But now when Ghost of Tsushima came out, great fucking game, and they sell supposedly around the same numbers for bid, well, hypothetically. Now Sony's praising that. If that's true, if it's around the same numbers and Sony's praising it, I would just think that they were just playing bias here, and they may be a little more into it, the story, that we may not know as to what's going on behind the scenes, as to why they made that choice to not give him a sequel. But that's my take on it.
I think that's certainly possible, but I don't think Days Gone had that like special factor, right? Like Ghost of Tsushima has that special factor of like, wow, like this game came out clean, polished, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a plus.
True.
On top of people enjoying the story, on top of the open world not feeling too like there was too much to do, right? Like Days Gone almost seemed like, because I played a little bit of it, but I couldn't beat it. I just felt fatigued playing Days Gone.
Yeah, it had a very slow a slow start. A very slow start, actually. Like I heard, he's supposed to, like, hours later, it's supposed to click for a lot of people, but yeah.
Yeah, and I played it after they had patched all the bugs. So I just don't think Days Gone had that spark, and the bugs didn't help it out when it first launched. And even if we assume that the sales numbers are the same, I mean, it could have happened differently, right? Like, it could have had bad sales at launch. Did Ghost of Tsushima ever go on sale? Has it ever been sold for $30? Like, I have no idea.
I have no idea either.
I know Days Gone, they had a cut price.
Yeah, it was a rough launch with Days Gone, so that's understandable.
So I think there's factors like that too that maybe Sony's like, all right, this game wasn't anything special. It wasn't great, right? It was all right, but it wasn't great. Like, we're looking for greatness. Maybe that's sort of where they're coming from.
That's possible. I don't trust any execs at anybody. I don't trust any execs point of view, I'm gonna say, at big companies like Sony and Xbox, but because I think they're just all about the money. And let's just say if Days Gone did sell as much as Ghost of Tsushima, how much did they sell stacked up against Ghost of Tsushima prices? Sales numbers within a month up to now, when the game's launch. It could be a big difference in that too. Ghost of Tsushima probably sold a lot more when it came out than Days Gone when it first came out. Who knows? The numbers are out there. I didn't look it up as of yet, but I think Sony is just all about the people, the managers up there, all about numbers at the end of the day. I don't think, personally, like how we see games, I don't think they're looking into how much bugs it had and what stopped this. I think it's all about numbers to them. And if the numbers are the same, I think that's why I said I think it's something else behind the scenes. Because what you said makes sense, a lot of sense, but a lot of these companies don't make sense, especially with what's going on with the NFTs and the decisions being made at EA with other things when it comes to the projects. So quality and stuff in games, I don't think they're really looking at that too much. I think it's just numbers reflect. Like, if they ain't hitting that like a movie in the box office that weekend as much as the other, it's probably the numbers are different over time between both games, even though they still manage to be out the same ratio. It's how high they climbed and how much people are still playing. They look at that too. I'm assuming. Ghost of Tsushima, a lot of people still playing that today. I'm assuming because of the multiplayer, Legends, and that's free. So yeah, numbers. Besides that, the numbers, as in when it comes to how much money they're making, as far as how much sales they're getting, and numbers as far as how much people are still playing the game. So it could be those factors as well as to why they're praising it as well. Besides the quality of the game, quality speaks for itself though. At the end of the day, sad to say, Days Gone, a very big from a lot of people, from what I've seen online at least, a lot of people still praising it, but it seems like a quality game now. But at launch, was it, as like you said, as good as Ghost of Tsushima polish? And how much sales did they get on the first month as well? You know.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just a weird thing. I mean, the fact that Sony's still asking to make other IPs, like if they were willing to make another IP, and Siphon Filter being one of them, I was like, I guess Sony just didn't. I don't know. It could be numbers. It could just be the type of game that it was. Who the hell knows? But
yeah. I mean, you're right about the numbers thing. I mean, you would hope and think that they would understand that greatness leads to, higher sales and profits. But I think, something mediocre can come out and do well.
Yeah.
And they would still, rather do a sequel on that than do something that was really good.
It shows.
And, maybe to turn out the same profits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It shows the language how these companies are talking today. It really does show like how. Come on, man. Look at Battlefield. They just took out, and that's a whole other topic I can't get into right now, but they just took out Rush. The one mode that people kept clamoring for and to keep as a permanent mode, they took it out. As much people talked about it before they even took it out, they still did it. Like, companies are not. It's funny, I just heard this on another YouTube video. So this words wasn't my words, but somebody said companies today, EA considers listening to the community as a legacy feature. That was like the best fucking line that I've heard, as far as so far when it comes to companies today, how everything's like, how you wrap up of how companies' languages are compared to the consumers. They're not consumer friendly. They're just, most of them at least not. They want to do the opposite of what they're saying, what people are saying, and then put it in later as a sale. And that's the part that a lot of things are, how a lot of things are going now. But it's a fucking fiasco, and I don't know how that's gonna dictate the future of gaming when it comes to getting what we want and what we get out of the whole thing. So I don't know, but our time is coming to an end. There was other things I wanted to get into as far as like the most anticipated games next year, because I had a list, but it is what it is for now. But I appreciate you coming on and sharing your time with me on this podcast. And is there any last thing you wanted to mention before we head off?
No, because I feel like that's just gonna start
another
conversation. Yeah.
All right, it's cool.
No.
But no, for those of you watching, thanks for watching. For those of you that's gonna watch later, I'm gonna put this on YouTube as soon as I can. And if you haven't subscribed or followed, you can, subscribe on YouTube or follow on Twitch. But I'm rambling. It's time to get going. See you next time, and hopefully you have a good first quarter. Yeah, this world is very, very drastically bipolar with a lot of things going on. So everybody be safe, and looking forward to the new games coming out this year. But take care, guys.